Dariq declares. Dariq Whitehead has decided to go to the 2023 NBA draft, foregoing his remaining years of eligibility to play college basketball for the Duke Blue Devils. We talk about that on Locked On Blue Devils here today.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. It's so great to have you here with us on this Wednesday, March 29th, 2023. Big news today. Dariq Whitehead has declared for the 2023 NBA draft. He will forego his remaining eligibility for the Blue Devils. We're going to discuss that and a whole lot more all throughout today's program. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you support this video and all of the other videos that we're putting out there as we continue the race towards 1,000 subscribers. Also follow us on Twitter at LO_Blue Devils. Follow me on Twitter at _JJ_Jackson_. Follow this podcast for free wherever you get your podcast to listen to us each and every day. Your support of Locked On Blue Devils means the absolute world to us. All right, without further ado, I want to bring on my good friend, my colleague, my buddy, Josh Cox from Duke Football Talks Section 17 podcast to talk about the news of the day. Josh, Dariq Whitehead has officially declared for the NBA draft.
Yeah, this shouldn't be shocking news to any Duke fan. Dariq, I believe, obviously committed to Duke as a one and done, showed up on campus in the summer knowing this was going to be a 1 year stint. And so, listen, like any other one and done, man, we wish him the best and grateful for all he did, even though I know he wishes, the season was not plagued by injury. But I think Dariq is going to be a successful pro. And obviously the pro scouts and the teams that are talking to him tend to agree. And so at the end of the day, as quickly as these guys can go make their money, I completely understand. And so look forward to seeing where he lands and how he can help a team in the pros.
And no kidding. I mean, look, we were really thrilled to get Dariq Whitehead to commit to Duke, to play for the Blue Devils, had incredibly high expectations for him. We did podcasts all the way back this previous summer asking, who would be the stat leaders in scoring and rebounding. And Dariq Whitehead was a popular choice for many people that we asked if he would be that scoring leader for Duke this season. It just wasn't quite the case because injuries right out of the gate, and then Duke got into a rhythm with both Proctor and Roach in the backcourt, and then you've got Whitehead coming off the bench a little bit. So, it did not go the way we expected it to. That's not to say this season was a failure by any means for Dariq Whitehead or for this Duke team. It was just totally different than what we expected, Josh.
Yeah, I would agree. And we both attributed it to injuries, and I think that's a fair assessment there. I believe, barring injury, it looks maybe a little bit differently. I think Dariq starts at the 3, and then things, shake out maybe a little bit differently. But that's not what ended up happening. At the end of the day, though, he averaged over 8 points a game, which if you ask most Duke fans, I'm not sure that they would have equated him as scoring that much, to be honest with you. But what I love, and I think an area that Dariq really improved upon and showcased this season, is hitting 42.9% from the 3-point line, and that's obviously if you're going to be a contributor at the next level, you're going to have to be able to knock down 3-point shots. And Dariq showed that he can not only catch and shoot them, but he's got a step back game and he's really got a legitimate shot. And so, if for nothing else, Dariq helped us, and he also helped himself by kind of guaranteeing those scouts that he can shoot the ball.
Yeah, right now, obviously going into the season, it looked like Dariq Whitehead was a projected lottery pick for Duke. He's slated in mock drafts kind of all over the place from the back half of the first round to into the early second round. It feels as though he will be selected, which is a positive thing for Whitehead. But I do think that 3-point shot is definitely going to help him out when teams start to evaluate him, because we're not necessarily getting into player comparisons, but Duke did have a player in a similar position drafted at the end of the first round last year in Wendell Moore Jr., who's been playing a good bit for the Minnesota Timberwolves this season. But right now, for folks that aren't aware, Wendell Moore Jr. is hitting 18% of his 3-point shots. That's just not going to cut it.
Yeah.
And so for Whitehead to have a better 3-point percentage, if that can go into the next level, he's going to stick around in the league for a long time.
Yeah, now his measurables, they're not going to be freakishly crazy like Derek Lively's will be, but I believe Dariq will measure well at the NBA combine. I believe he will. He'll run those drills very well. I think he will impress some people. Obviously, a lot of times there's some verbal interviews that take place around that same time. So I believe Dariq is going to do nothing but help himself in all of those things. And so, if you're on the fence about Dariq Whitehead, I think if you watch what he does in the combine and then they sit down with him and talk to him and find out what kind of a person he is, that's where I think you see him get taken, in that earlier, as you mentioned, he's looking at, late first, early second. I think you see him as a first round pick as long as he doesn't get hurt and he can perform at his highest level at the combine and have those interviews with teams verbally. I believe we're going to see that. And like you said, projected lottery pick didn't necessarily work out that way this season for him. But at the end of the day, if you can get guaranteed first round money, it's time to go.
Go take it. That's right. Dariq declares Whitehead off to the NBA. He becomes the first Blue Devil to declare for the 2023 NBA draft. We talk about that and continue our conversation after a brief timeout here on Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The tournament is heating up and we're heading to the Final Four. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. That's because right now FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the net this weekend. We've got, of course, UConn, FAU, San Diego State, and I'm forgetting a team here in the Final Four, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. We welcome you back here into Locked On Blue Devils here today. JJ Jackson alongside Josh Cox. We got to talk about the Final Four. Because I missed Miami, the team in the ACC. Yeah, I totally missed Miami. What do you think's going to happen in the Final Four this weekend, Josh? Sorry to those Hurricanes. That was bad.
Yeah, I know the ACC rep, everything.
Completely blanked out of my head. Yeah, what's going to happen in the Final Four?
Well, I will say this. I am 110% looking forward to the Miami-UConn game. I think that's going to be a great game. UConn is playing by far the best basketball of the four remaining teams. I mean, they absolutely annihilated Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. And man, they've got a Richards on the outside, and I forget the big guy's name. It's just a beast of a player. They're well balanced. I think Danny Hurley's a great coach, so they're well coached. And so, man, as much as I want to pick my guys from Miami, I love Nigel Pack. I love Jordan Miller. I'm not the biggest Isaiah Wong fan. Shout out to Connor O'Neill, who is the biggest Isaiah Wong fan that I know. I think Isaiah Wong's the third best player on that team and somehow walked away with the ACC Player of the Year award. But Jordan Miller, we can't talk about the Final Four and not talk about his perfect game that he played in the Elite Eight. I mean, the first perfect game in the NCAA tournament since Christian Laettner in 1992. And so that's rarefied air there. Yeah, rarefied. Didn't miss a shot, didn't miss a free throw. 27 points. I mean, just an incredible stat line. So what do I see happening in that game? As much as I really do want Miami to win that game. I have to say my head says UConn. They're playing too good. And so I'll go UConn. And then in the other game, at some point in time, I believe that just the better talent and better athleticism is going to win out. And I think that's what happens there. So we San Diego State going up against UConn, and then I'll have UConn winning that. So that's where I'm sitting right now. We'll see.
I'm sitting in the same boat as you. Our friends at FanDuel have UConn as the betting favorites to cut down the net, so we'll certainly see what takes place. Dariq Whitehead declared for the NBA draft this morning. He will go and start his professional career. A season at Duke that got off on a wrong note with the foot injury that took place for Whitehead. He missed some time early. He had the game in Blacksburg where he got injured again and had to miss some time, notably the home game against UNC. Whitehead was not out there for the Blue Devils. So a couple of moments that he missed out on, but was a part of this Duke team going all the way to win the ACC tournament. And we just talk about that outside shot, Josh. I mean, man, not many people expected that Whitehead would be the sniper out of the group for this Duke basketball team this past season.
No, in fact, I mean, he came in with a reputation, obviously a defensive minded player as well. Like he came in with a really good reputation of being a defender, which I believe he showed this year. And once again, injuries can probably show up worse on the defensive end sometimes than even the offensive end. And I still think he played relatively good defense this year. And so I want to preface it with that. But yeah, no one saw. I don't think anybody, even those that followed him closely in high school, would have dreamed that he would have shot 43% from the 3-point line this year. But his confidence was just super high. And thankfully his teammates found him, open looks, and there were a lot of catch and shoot threes, which is great. And so, yeah, I mean, it was pretty incredible. And I think whoever drafts him, especially when you get him healthy, you're going to get a guy who can really defend. He reminds me of like RJ Barrett on the defensive side of the ball. But he can shoot the three a heck of a lot better than RJ Barrett. And so, I think he's going to be a really solid addition to a team.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the ball handling and what the just finding a shot for yourself looks like for Whitehead at the next level, simply because he did so much of that in high school. We didn't see the outside shooting. We saw Whitehead with his head down attacking the rim, and it was just complete opposite in college. So what does that look like for him at the next level? I think a lot of people are curious. Yeah. So I think he's got it in him, absolutely, though.
You touched on the ball handling, and I think that's something he's going to have to address. I noticed it, especially towards the end of the season. I kind of compare him a little bit, and this is a great comparison to a great player, but Jaylen Brown is that kind of way for me. Like, he is an incredible player. He has all these skills, but sometimes when he puts the ball on the floor and gets in traffic, he doesn't take care of the ball that well. And Dariq is similar in that sense. They're built similarly. If Dariq takes some major steps forward, that's the prototypical player he could become, honestly, as a Jaylen Brown type player. And I'm not going to say that he's going to be all NBA good like Jaylen Brown is. I'm saying the way and style that he plays could be that way. And so I'll be interested to see if he improves that handle. Turn the ball over a little bit. I felt like, for his few minutes he played per game, he turned the ball over a little bit too much. And it once again just attributed kind of that to that loose handle a little bit. But I'd like to see him maybe get in the lab with a guy like Kyrie or something in the offseason and work those handles up.
Put some work in, absolutely. Dariq Whitehead declares for the 2023 NBA draft. Whitehead, prior to starting his career with Duke, participated in the McDonald's All-American game that we saw last night. Whitehead was the MVP of the 2022 McDonald's All-American game. We'll talk a little bit about that and what Duke's roster now looks like going into next season after one more timeout here on Locked On Blue Devils. Thanks so much for making Locked On Blue Devils your first listen today. Make sure that now for your second listen, you go check out our brand new podcast this season. It's Locked On College Basketball, as experts Isaac Shade and Andy Patton get you ready for the Final Four this weekend. Here are all the teams. I got it this time. We've got UConn and Miami. We've got FAU and San Diego State. Everything you need to know about these teams on and off the court. Plus, you can hear from big-name experts, coaches, players, and so much more throughout the basketball landscape. It's Locked On College Basketball. It's available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Final few moments here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. JJ Jackson alongside my pal Josh Cox from Duke Football Talk's Section 17 podcast on Twitter at Duke FB Talk. Check out their work over there. So, all right, I mentioned the McDonald's All-American game last night. Anything stand out to you from this week's festivities there in Chicago, Josh?
I mean, I was just asked that question by a friend of mine here locally a couple of hours ago. Sean Stewart has got to be the thing that stood out. I mean, Sean Stewart is 6'8", 230. I'll be honest with you, I had not done a ton of homework on Sean Stewart.
Yeah.
I did not expect him to win the dunk contest. Like, no way in the world did I expect him to win the dunk contest, and he did. And so I think I really feel like if his athleticism is something that we can count on, man, that's going to be nothing but a positive for Duke heading into the season next year. And so my biggest takeaway was obviously Jared McCain winning the fact that two Duke guys won the three-point shootout and the dunk contest is really cool.
Right.
But the surprise to me was Sean Stewart. That was a surprise.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what his role will look like on next year's team. So, and again, the shooting for Jared McCain, 19 of 25 makes in that three-point contest. Filthy stuff. And we mentioned the need for a marksman this past season. Whitehead was certainly that, but I think Duke's going to have a couple of different options on next year's team when it comes to the outside shooting, because Proctor's shot will continue to come along as well.
Correct. And so that's, that backcourt, and we're not here to talk who stays and who goes probably yet, but that backcourt could be a little crowded, but it could open up a little bit depending on what some decisions are made. But for sure, I mean, you for sure have Proctor, you for sure have Caleb Foster, you for sure have Jared McCain. And from there, we'll see what happens as far as who stays and who goes. But we're going to be deep. I mean, there's no question about that. Next year's team is going to be deep.
What did you think about Tyrese Proctor's decision to come back for his sophomore season?
Yeah. Glad you asked, because I wasn't on. He announced after we recorded last week. So, I mean, I think I've told you this from the beginning of the season. I think he was my favorite player as far as just my favorite. I loved his personality. I loved his game.
Cool guy.
And I love the fact that he talks junk, but it's in an obvious fun way. He talks smack to his opponents, but it's never in a fighting way. It's in more we're out here playing basketball.
For sure.
And I love that. I love the progression that we saw throughout the season of him turning away from being a turnover machine into a more effective passer. And really his assist to turnover ratio improved drastically throughout the season. He will have the keys next year. I mean, this is going to be his, as far as the ball handling and the running of the team, it's going to be his. It will be interesting to see. Caleb Foster spent quite a bit of time this last season off the ball as well. And so I believe he'll be able to slide into that off-ball situation along with Jared McCain. And, Duke could start three guards, really, if we wanted to. We could go small there, just depending on who stays and who goes. We can talk about that later. But anyway, I believe Tyrese is going to have an incredible season. This is right on track with what he wanted to do. He came a year early so that he could spend 2 years here.
Yeah.
This past season was his senior year of high school for all intents and purposes. And then this coming season will be his, technically his freshman season, if you want to look at it that way. And then he'll be gone. And so Duke fans just know that this is our last season with Tyrese Proctor. And let's go see what we can do with a bona fide star at the point guard.
I said yesterday, when you've got Adrian Wojnarowski kind of breaking your news that you're going to be returning for a sophomore season because he's hearing potential lottery buzz for Proctor in 2024, that is a big-time get for Duke to get back on next year's team. And then just, the shot is something that we really want to see continue to improve for Proctor. The free throw shot was always there all season long, and so we know that at some point will translate over to the shots from beyond the arc. But I'm talking about Proctor's impact on those younger guards coming in as something that I'm really excited about. We heard some of them speak at McDonald's All-American game events earlier in the week. about already having that relationship with Proctor because they were supposed to be in the same recruiting class. And much like Jeremy Roach and Jacob Grandison, to a lesser degree, Jalen Blake's kind of showed those guards the ropes this year for Tyrese Proctor. Now he gets to do that, Josh, next year for those incoming freshmen.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he'll be the same age as those guys,
Right.
but he'll have that year of experience, valuable experience under his belt, and so not just experience, but an ACC tournament championship under his belt. 2 wins against arch rival UNC under his belt. Like he's got all of those things where he's going to be able to pour into. I know him and Jared McCain are pretty tight, and so for him to be able to really help and mentor and bring him along and just instill what the Duke culture is. You can try to instill that all you want to from the coaching staff, and they can do that to a certain degree, but really the Duke culture is set by the players. And so he'll be a guy that will be able to set that standard kind of excellence there. And then, I believe it's going to do nothing but help those freshmen that are coming in. And then obviously he's got the respect of his current teammates. And so, you don't have to worry about that. He's taking over the reins of the offense. Ball's going to be in his hand. He's going to be the guy, and everybody's going to be completely cool with that.
I'm so thrilled for what next year's team could look like. We've got a few more decisions that need to be made. We're in a world, it's well known. We've seen this a number of years now, Josh, when Duke has been in kind of this one and done era, and more so now that every single person on the roster, it feels like, needs to make a public announcement as to whether or not they're coming back onto next year's team. They get their 24-hour window, right? So here we are today, soaking in Dariq Whitehead, celebrating the year that he had. Now we've got more decisions to be made the rest of the week.
Yeah, I mean, from what I'm hearing, there's really only one question mark left from what I'm hearing, and so it's going to be interesting to see when that question mark announcement is made. I'm assuming it's going to be the last one, and I'll just say it's Kyle Filipowski. I think we all know the question mark, and so depending on who you ask, I'm hearing from some people 75% lean to stay. I'm hearing from other people 75% lean to go. Everybody thinks they know, and but I don't know. I would assume that the next announcement we get is a Mark Mitchell announcement, and we'll see. I think we'll be staying. That's just from what I've been hearing. We'll find out. I'm not, breaking any news here at all, but just from what I'm hearing. So I think they may stagger them. A stay, a go. Lively's probably gone, and then that last one is Filipowski, and we're just going to see where what his decision is. And then of course, once again, just being real here, we've got to find out from Jeremy Roach and Jalen Blakes and Jaden Shute and Christian Reeves, because like you said, pretty much everybody on the roster every year needs to make some sort of declaration that they're coming back or that they're going. And so I'm not here to speculate on any of those guys. I have my reasons to think some of them might take off and some of them might stay, but those are just my reasons and my thoughts. And so I've got nothing as far as insider info there.
Kevin Connolly from Ball Durham yesterday convinced me I need to be in the Filipowski declares but maintains eligibility boat, which I do think is fair, right? Like you've got this opportunity to go get feedback while also in the back, because I do think that is the big question mark left of the freshman is whether or not Flip stays or goes. So go get more information if you can.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, I do feel like Filipowski fits the person who could come back for a second season. Honestly, just so that his name gets included in the Duke greats. Like when you're thinking about the Duke greats, there's always this asterisk by the one and dones. Right. And I feel like if he's the kind of kid that that maybe wants to see his name there. I believe firmly when the kid committed to Duke, he had no idea he was going to blow up like he did. And I think he planned on being a multi-year guy. There's no question about it. And so I actually think this one and done thing for Flip is somewhat new. It's a new zone. He didn't show up on campus last summer thinking I'm going to be a one and done for sure. Right. And so I think this is something he's got to process. There's a lot of questions, man. Each one of these young men have different family lives and history. They are in different socioeconomic statuses. There are different reasons that could either push them to take the chance to go pro, or they could stick around. Obviously, NIL now plays a role in that. Duke could say, if Duke's able to say, listen, if you can stay, here is what NIL could offer you this coming season. And if that's enough, I mean, sometimes if you look at the lower half of the first round draft picks and what they make, I mean, some of these guys could probably make that in NIL money, sticking around Durham for another season.
No kidding.
So,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it's what do you want to do? And I think I'm okay with that. If we have an announcement that Filipowski is going to test the waters but remain eligible, that'd be fine with me.
Stay tuned. We've got more decisions coming this week to all discuss here on Locked On Blue Devils. Josh, you're the best. Always enjoy talking hoops with you and look forward to talking again next week, okay?
All right, JJ, we'll see who announces between now and next week. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's Josh Cox joining us here on today's show. Thanks so much for your support of Locked On Blue Devils. Again, subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform as well. Leave us that 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. The written reviews mean so much. Follow us on Twitter at LO_Blue Devils and follow me on Twitter at _JJ_Jackson_. That's going to do it for today's show. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.